You need to triage the market. Man, I got some. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, Bob.
I got some stuff going on here. It's Market Vitals, the stream. MarketVitals.io is the website. Hashtag Market Vitals is the hashtag. Tomorrow's more of a hashtag day, Matt. 420 tomorrow. Remember the good old days of hashish? I think we should make hashish great again. I mean, when was the last great sales pitch you saw for hashish? I'm being honest, seriously. Like, I mean, we used to do hash under glass. I mean, that was a big thing. And you know, with the basically decoupling of criminal ideology around THC, you would think hash would have a penetration in the market. I have never seen that. And have you? Somebody enlighten me. Anybody pushing the hashish?
Well,
I mean, it even sounds good. Don't tell me that if you're like one of these THC companies that you haven't sat in a board meeting and talked about how do we make hash great again? Hashtag.
I don't know. What is isn't hash heroin though?
No.
I don't know. What is it from? I thought
hash is just, I think, refined THC resin.
Okay. All right.
And it's, you get increased.
So it's just the resin and the stuff they sell now. They just don't call it that.
Maybe, but how are you missing out?
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. You're the magic mushroom man.
Careful how you tread right now. Careful, man. No one is pushing hash, which is a different plant. Hash, which is a different plant. That's what Lee's telling me. Hash, which is a THC based. Hashish. Anybody? I don't know. We're gonna make hash great again, as far as I'm concerned.
I've never looked at.
I saw this. This was yesterday. 47 years ago. 47 years ago, Matt. This was released.
The hustle. Who was it? Van McCoy? That's the name. I wouldn't have been able to come up with that, even with the song. Those pants look like what the kids are wearing to Coachella right now, so they're back in.
We're gonna make doing the hustle great again too, along with copious amounts of hashish.
But I think they were doing. I think when that was out, it was more blow. It was clubs and blow.
It was 70s. Hash under glass in the back room, Matt.
It wasn't my room. I missed that. I missed that segment of the world. So
hash under glass. Let's get that trending, please. Do the hustle. 47 years ago yesterday. Hash and hookahs. Matt, another thing I wanted to share is the incredible backlash from the extreme freakazoids about the mask mandate being lifted.
Right.
Finally, a judge that would stand up. Amazingly, it takes 2 years for a judge in this country to, I know she identifies as a woman, but she finally showed some couillons there and said, all right, enough of this madness.
The crazy thing is I don't know if you, how do you be, wow. I mean, talk about I don't know if you read about her, but she's a 35-year-old.
She's got to be smarter than me and you.
I mean, 35-year-old federal judge appointed by Trump who clerked under Clarence Thomas. I'd say she knows a little bit about the law.
Here we
constitutional law, I would say.
David Webb, and he bought these masks and he's burning them. And he wanted to talk about Twitter suppression because that's in the news also. And he's showing these tweets. The tweet with the burning masks got 1,698 impressions. All right. But this one, can you believe we don't have world peace after changing the name on pancake boxes and syrup bottles? A great, sarcastic tweet.
Right.
And that one got 522,000 impressions. I'm impressed by both of them, but a logical person would say there's an algorithm that is throttling. That's the only thing that makes sense. How does a guy with this reach get throttled that drastically between two different tweets? I don't know, the whole mask thing, Matt. I mean, it's crazy. And we were talking coming in here. You were like, I don't understand it. How people are still so afraid and clinging to this idea that masks really work. When I mean, show me a data point where it makes much of a difference, if at all. Is there one?
No, there's plenty of studies that have proven it's bumpkiss, complete bumpkiss.
But yeah, people still believe it. Man, I saw.
I mean, unless you're going to put on a nuclear gas mask, don't bother. It's a waste of time.
I mean, we said this. Believe me, we said this over a year ago.
We said it over 2 years before this
2
started.
years ago, when they were showing the Wuhan lab people in the spacesuit. I'm like, if you want to protect yourself from a virus, that's what you need to be wearing.
Right.
These, and especially what they went with cloth masks for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Lee's proponing M42 military P100. I think what you need, and I'm going to get to this, when you're selling something, you need a lot of letters and numbers combined, right? You know, the
Right.
ZR1, if it's a car.
ZRC and a 3/4 in there too.
Let's face it, because all right, let me get to this. I saw a documentary, I highly recommend it. It's got to be at least a decade old now. It's called The Century of the Self. And it talks about this long arching movement towards egotistical, self-centered Americana, majorly driven by the incredibly talented Madison Avenue advertisers. And when we were talking about this coming in, I'm like, Matt, they believe it because the pitch has been incredibly good. And when you're in an echo chamber and your feed is only these things, why wouldn't you believe it if you're not a critical thinker? And let's face it, I struggle to critically think. I think most people do. So you get swayed a lot. Anyway, in the Century of the Self, Matt, they were talking about Betty Crocker cake and how it was having, they thought it would be a smash hit, right? You just add water and bingo, you got a cake. And nobody was buying it. And so they did their focus groups and all the women were saying, well, I don't feel like I'm actually a baker if I just add water to the mix. So somebody had the—
I would, by the way, I would.
Somebody had the light bulb of like, well, maybe if we crack an egg, if we have them crack an egg into it, and they're like, well, it doesn't need an egg. Well, they said, well, will an egg hurt it? No, it'll be maybe a spongier cake. Fine. They added crack an egg into the recipe along with the water, and bingo, the rest is history. Sales off the roof because everybody is a baker now if you can crack an egg. So
hey, I cracked 3 eggs when I made my keto bread. And
dude, how great is the keto bread, by the way?
And had, I think, 8 or 9 ingredients, 2 steps. Well, I mean, you make the cheese dough and then you add in all the other almond flour, right? So I'm a baker now. I'm solid baker.
Get him ready. Get him on the English baking show. If you can crack an egg, you are a baker. I mean, that's how crazy this is.
Oh, I cracked 3.
I still can't fucking crack an egg for the life of me. I am about 7% accuracy on cracking an egg. If you come to my house and I'm making an omelet, you are getting eggshell.
That's why it's really hard to believe that you ran the triple wing option with that in mind.
The Delaware wing tea. Let's get it right. By the way, opening night, Wrigley Field, still have the hat. Matt,
what year was that? 1975 also, the same year the Hustle came out?
No, a little bit later than that. Let's talk, we talk about, we always come to a trade discussion around something like this. 8-8-88, I was there, rained so freaking hard, they canceled the game in the second or third inning.
In the 8th inning.
No, it was not the 8th inning. No chance.
The bottom
third,
of the 8th.
Bingo, Lee. Third inning. And by the way, back in the day when you could actually offer the turnstile guy cash instead of a ticket. Didn't have a ticket. Cash is king, Matt.
What was the number then? $20 got you in?
$20, exactly. $20 got me in, and they were scalping them for $200, $300, $400.
Not bad.
Anyway, Matt,
Everybody's on the tape.
Let's talk consumer staples, because as we get squeezed here, General Mills owns Betty Crocker. Everybody's a baker if you can crack an egg.
Yeah, we've talked about General Mills before, and you can see we had drawn a little bracket that we had been in, really going back, pre-COVID. And it was a 12-point bracket, and we have broken out of it. I think that, it hadn't broken out when we talked about this before. So it broke out, threw over, came back, and now it's back up to a new high. If you believe in the bracket, then you should see somewhere around 75, 78, somewhere in there. And it's trading 71.33. Again, not a big mover, right? This is a $43 billion operation, market cap, pays almost a 3% dividend.
It has to have been around 150 years.
Yeah, let's go. Well, let's see how long.
We don't have 150 years of data. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but this goes back to 68. So that's 54 years. And again, we're sitting at all-time highs. Pretty wild to see. But again, this only sold, this sold off before COVID. This was 18, by the way. So I don't remember what happened this was a long sell-off too, 2016 to 18. So I don't remember, what happened during those years, but I was not involved in it. But yeah, let's take a look at a couple others, since you also wanted to look at these consumer staples. Let's look at McCormick, which is, I believe, the spice company that you so detest because they compete with your rub.
No, I do not detest them. I'm hoping on a 10-year buyout from McCormick for the Manja Shrimp Mojo. Everybody's going to be talking about it when it happens.
But here,
that out there to the universe.
Here's what's interesting about this for me, Bob, is that you bring the subject up, and we're already bullish. Like these charts have been bullish for some time, and so there's always a bull market, even in an inflationary environment, right? And I think that's what we're pointing out here is. It's good to go through these little tests. KHC's Kraft Heinz. We've talked about that in the past.
The only problem with Kraft Heinz is there's a direct connection to our favorite climatologist.
Yeah, John Kerry's all over the freaking map, and yeah.
But you're right. As people get squeezed, for sure, they don't go to the restaurants as much, right? You start cooking more at home. All this stuff benefits consumer staples.
Right. So, and again, if you would have bought them early in the year, you would have had, the wind at your back already. So these things have been moving up all year with inflation. So that makes sense. Kellogg's another one. KHC was Kraft Heinz. And now we got Kellogg's. Kellogg's has gone from 59.69 straight up, by the way, here, since March 1st. Look at that thing. That is like, get the ladder out and see how steep you want to walk that ladder up. That's bullish. Conagra. Again, look at these things. They've just gone, and it makes sense, right? Because all their inputs are going up. So their revenues are going to, they're going to have higher revenues just because their costs are going up. They're going to have to pass it on. Smuckers, SJM, another one. Again, it's interesting. Again, we look at the theme and they're all moving together. So let's see if there's any of them that are not. We got Campbell Soup. Look at that same little leg up recently. And lastly, we'll look at LW, which is Lamb Weston Holdings. Same charts here, Bob.
Give me one brand name of Lamb Weston. Never heard of them.
I don't know.
Vegan on it. Lamb Weston.
Specialty candies, it says.
Well,
so you probably have. It's probably those circus peanuts you eat.
Cheap calories.
It's those circus peanuts you eat.
Since we're on candy, let's jump to sugar, because we looked at that several weeks ago. And my comment was, why can't sugar go full lumber? We have not looked at it since I made that statement.
We have not.
We have not.
Pause with me 1 second. I'm going to have to bring it up.
No problem. All right, man, let me bring something up that I forgot to and that was this, because all the airlines have now, immediately, some of them, as soon as the judge laid down the order.
Oh, they were.
Mask mandate led to spike in unruly passenger incidents. Look at that jump. That almost looks like deaths in New Brunswick, the chart that we brought up yesterday.
It's the same
fucking chart.
The same chart, basically.
Deaths in New Brunswick. If you can You want
correlation or causation. We can have a whole argument.
And it's a long. It's not a spread. You're long both of them. As long as mask mandates stay, you're going to have unruly passengers on airplanes. And then I love the picture that you shared of the guy screaming with the mask over his eyes. I feel like that so many times.
I mean, I probably traveled 20 times over the last 2 years on a plane. And honestly, there was at least one or two of those guys on every plane that I was like, you start thinking about this. All right, if I grab his head, is there a guy around him or me that can help? Because this guy is going to be like, you start thinking, like, don't you think this way when you travel? I always have.
Listen, I actually have.
I always have.
I have a personal experience of a traveler going almost full AWOL on a plane. In fact, when we landed in Chicago, the police were at the jetway.
Yeah.
And, that's a story for a different show. Do we have sugar? If not, I can go someplace.
By the way, Lee just threw up there. Lamb Weston is the biggest supplier to Mickey D. So there you go. I did not know that. So again, he must have covered that sector on the analyst desk that nobody wanted that job out of MBA school. Thanks, Lee.
Sugar. Let's talk something sweet.
Sugar. Bob was calling for a parabolic. I was calling for a sell-off. There you go. Sell-off.
Wait a second. We'll backtrack a little bit. Give us a little bit more breadth on this chart.
Well, this is just the last.
I agree. It's come back to.
We talked about it in the last month. I mean, it was 2040. Now it's down to 19. I mean, it's not moving big. It's 1970. So.
All right. Fractal out, please.
Here's a daily. Still looking cup and handle-ish, and it looks like it still could go parabolic. And again, like you said, Bob, cheap calories, more sugar. All right. More corn syrup. All right. That makes sense.
I mean, think about it. Like we can't.
That's why it's another reason why my food bill is through the roof, because I'm not buying anything processed. So everything has to be, fresh, whole eating when you're eating like you and I are right now. Well, at least me. I don't know about you.
You know what I'm doing? I'm cheating. I do a lot of cheating.
You have 6 cheat days and 1 keto day.
And let me tell you something right now. I'm going to New Orleans tomorrow and then to Biloxi. And we should get the over-under right now on how many pounds I actually make it a challenge. Like how much weight can you gain in a week?
Let's see if you can gain more than I lose in a week.
I got to put on 20. I'm not sure that's possible.
No, in a week. So
I know in a week. I mean, I think I could put on 8 or 9.
Oh, I could lose maybe 2 or 3. I can't lose 8 or 9 in a week. I mean, I could, but I'd be literally, starving myself. I'm not going to do
that. My calorie intake, Matt, is a lot like this chart that I'm going to share here. And the problem with it is there's good calories and bad calories. I don't care what you say. But this is a chart by Charlie with the eye tie. Charlie the vowels, just like Uriel. I can't even pronounce all the vowels. If you could use that in Wordle, you probably get pretty far.
Hey, by the way, there's a hurdle also.
Listen, I do Wordle every day, and I start every one with Trump, and it's unbelievable how successful that methodology is.
Today was the first time I've done 20 Wordles. Today was the first one I've missed. So there you go.
There you go. Anyway, my calories and M2, 41% in 2 years. And I love this because most of the time, and I'm not sure Charlie in this thread did this, but M2 and then what the dollar is going to do when you just print this much money. But it's not a vacuum. Like M2 isn't a vacuum. It's not just the US printing money. It's every single fiat currency out there, Matt. So yeah, we've done this, but how does it really relate?
Whoa, you just brought me back to macro 201. I'm going to have to call my freshman student in college and ask him. He's taking that class right now, although he's not doing well. He failed the second midterm. So,
and Matt, I forgot to do this because we like to heighten, right? Breaking. In fact, I've lost the ability to do breaking news. I'm like CNN. I've lost the ability to actually
you and Brian Stetler have lost all control of your bowels.
How about at Jack now? All of a sudden gone full. He's making many
full right wing.
Faces.
Is he full right wing now? I mean,
well, he for sure is full pushback on the left leaning, as he's called out CNN today. massive misinformation, right out lying about a pretty important incident. Please do your own investigation. He's called out the Twitter board being a bunch of
wankers.
Well, exactly, and now he's also called out the Ethereum blockchain as having several points of failure. Strong words from a tech guy that is
as the resident crypto expert, Mr. Heffernan, what does that mean to you when he says that?
It means to me it's somewhat hypocritical as Square, a company that he started and owns a giant chunk of, makes an insane amount of money every year by letting people buy crypto through their platform with a slight haircut. Like, they're taking their piece. And believe me, a ton of it has been in this quote unquote crypto that has several points of failure. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the way it is. You can't be I don't think there's an asterisk on the Square app when you go to buy Ethereum that says, by the way, @Jack feels that this coin has several points of failure. Back to Betty Crocker and truth in advertising.
Well, so we've seen the pain. We've talked about the pain that Twitter's been bringing Jack and all investors for the past 12 years. Look at Square. I mean, and maybe this is where more of his personal pain is coming from, because he probably does own more of this stock now. And it started, what was interesting is he and Elon were kind of the same, like.
In fact, I've seen them several times on panels talking with each other cordially. I think like-minded.
Well, but my point is they both were starting multiple companies at the same time. Tesla, SpaceX, all that stuff was starting, for Elon. And look at the wealth that Elon, he's the richest man in the world, and Jack is not even in the top 100. So I think that tells you a lot about, the brain power here and what's really going on. But, look at this. I mean, it peaked at 290 in last summer and went all the way down to 80, Bob. I mean, seriously, that's a 70% haircut. He's feeling that. He is feeling that. He's full Davy Barstool right-sided here, just like we would have said, we were saying it's going to go down because it was strongly associated with crypto. So there was a reason why it went up, and now there's a reason why it went back down. So it makes sense.
It's amazing how sometimes just the flow of conversation, and that's what a trading pit actually did other than offer price discovery. It's a flow of conversation. It's so important in your trading regimen to have a flow of conversation, because there's several people that believe in the thread that nobody set out and invented anything ever in the history of humanity. You set out to do one thing, and then you see something over here, and you're like, "Hey, look, squirrel!" And that this thing over here is actually what gives you the added value. What gives you that next step towards evolution.
Hey, speaking of squirrels and mushrooms, we talked yesterday in the pit about natural gas, and I said I think yesterday was the high. And why don't I bring that up? Because
bring that up. Do a little cheerleading, man.
Well, because it was, and I told you why too. I said it's because that spike, that post weekend, just fever, right? That comes from all a long weekend and news about Ukraine and nat gas have been heavily shorted, and everybody. So they rammed it up people's, yesterday, took it all the way up to 806. And when we were talking about it, it was right when the show started. It was just 790 when we started, and we said sell it. It's going to go down. And I said, you can wait for the day's low, which will be 735. So even if you waited for that today, it went from 735 to 695. It's down 9% right here, Bob, at 712, and it bottomed here. 2 days, the Thursday low was touched. Okay. So we hit that. This is not a good looking profile right now to be buying again. It looks like it wants to travel back down to 650, 660. And then from there, we'll have another, as you say, a discussion, a battle. But to me, it looks like, and that's just getting you, by the way, this is a 23-minute chart. Just looking at about.
You do that for Michael Jordan?
I love
and me.
Big fan, 23-minute chart. And it's a fib, Bob. It's back to the fib. So this is, we're at, let's say 1695 breaks, I could see us actually trading down to this 580 level, down to this top of this hole pretty quickly, just to really take some people out, because it's been literally so easy. Every day it was going up for almost a month, right? And there's definitely some rollover going over here on the contract and some games going on there. So be aware of the timing on it. If you're in a contract, just make sure you're in the front month. That gives you some time if you're going to play for that short. But I think any rally that you would get here, if you're not involved already, yeah, it's hard to sell, but I liked it at 7 as a sell. I loved it at 8. So anywhere between 7 and 8, I'd say, again, you could sell it again. And it's here, when we started the show, it was 714. It's already down to 710. So it is moving viciously. And again, you better be prepared, because it's thick, it's liquid, but this thing, it can move hard and fast. And we've talked about it. You better be well capitalized.
Actually, like this chart here, on selling that the top end of this profile that it's put in here now for the last 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah, this is a week. So you're saying 730 somewhere up in there.
Yeah, because it's pretty defined. If it's going to continue lower, it should respect that high.
Yeah.
It shouldn't build time and volume above it. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Right. Yeah, and that's the break, right? That was yesterday's low too. So that's what we just talked about. As long as it doesn't, again, if it starts going over 740, there might be, news related, Ukraine related, whatever. Again, so you got to look at the, what's driving the price right now. We know it's been the conflict, and so be careful out there. Oil's down big today, as you said. Most of the commodities are down big. Oil, gold, silver, all getting rocked. Yet bonds are hitting another new low today. So equities were up 2%, and which is strange again, because bonds went down to the 138 handle. We said 130s were near. We hit it, went from 140 all the way down to 138.31 or so, Bob. So those bonds continue to make their way to that 135, 136 level that I really see as a big level, and looks like they're going to do it fast versus bounce a few times and get there. There is somebody that, whether it's China, whether it's our own Fed, somebody is selling big, big, big. That's all, it's evident. They're just dumping. They don't care about price. They are dumping.
Dude, it's like,
because you don't see this stretch of selling for this long, unless what I just said is true. Like there's some big size that is just like puking
any bid available.
And until they're gone, we can't go up. So that's, somebody's getting hurt. Somebody's getting carried out in a stretcher here, and it may be more than one, right? But my point is they continue to get carried out. I mean, when you think about this, we were at 164 in December on these bonds, and today we're at right now 139.13. It's just tremendous, tremendous straight down whoosh. I mean, and again, that trend line that we've talked about is totally broken. We're below, even on a daily chart, we're below value area. So it is not, again, if you're going to trade.
Here's the dynamic on something like this too, is every rally now, if you were taking heat, if you have been taking heat, it's like, am I going to wait to get to break even, or on this relief rally, is this loss palatable? And so you have that whole segment of people that are stuck long, that are looking for any relief rally, and that also is what tends to mute the rally. Anyway,
yeah,
for sure, it's big boys. Pull your big boy pants up if you're going to engage in that market, for sure.
Yep.
All right, Matt. I think that's all we got. We've talked bonds. The only other nuance here that I want to point out that I saw today and didn't actually realize, and because I for sure had been leaning towards that the stock market's going to get hurt because of those bond yields going through the roof, and the 10-year going through the roof. And what I saw today was that the corporate rate structure, or the corporate borrowing costs, have not mirrored those mortgage costs and the 10-year rate. And so maybe that's why there hasn't been such an impact on equity prices. I'm thinking out loud here, because it hasn't made sense to us that we haven't had more of an equity sell-off mirroring the bonds. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe that needs to catch up. At some point, it has to catch up. And so another impossibility of information load that you need to take into account.
Well, we've talked about this, and again, we're quite parabolic when it comes to rates right now. 2.93 was the high on the 10-year, currently 2.91. Up again, another new high. Again, I keep saying we got to go test this 3.2. That's another 10% from here still. So look, but the steepness of this curve is scary. But it is, if you're able to pull back 10%, you'd be a buyer, right? You'd be a buyer at 2.6 based on that trend line, that chart. But and that would make sense for a move possibly up to 5. I mean, why couldn't we? I mean, again, that was seen, 07, 08 before the housing, crumble really started. So why couldn't we go back to here to kind of squelch everything? That would make a lot of sense. And what's interesting is, although the housing, median prices are up, it really truly is inventory based. And I don't really believe it much, right? It's a false inflation and pricing that we've seen in housing. It has nothing to do with it does have everything to do with mortgage rates, but as they normalize, like this obviously it can't continue. How it plays out, how it rolls over, I don't know, Bob, but they're continuing. The housing starts were up again in March, so numbers still. These builders are full on. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
And that's what they do every cycle.
I know they do every cycle, but so we're still not. We haven't slowed down at all in preparation for what is ahead. It's just not in their. It's not in their DNA to do it. It can't. So it can't end smoothly. Is all I'm saying. There's no soft landing for this spike, and we may spike another year. I don't know how much longer we're going to go higher. But we're not going to go up 30% a year in housing. It's freaking insane. It's insane.
I agree. Agreed. All right, Matt. Let's do the hustle. That's what I got. Tomorrow, we'll have a late segment from Bourbon Street. I will be joining the broadcast. Your choice, Matt. I can either be eating beignets at the place that Davey Portnoy couldn't find. Did you see that whole thread?
No.
He wanted to get the chicory coffee and the beignets at the famous place. Lee, what is it? And he's like, I hate New Orleans. This supposedly famous place is in a mall.
I believe it.
The idiot couldn't figure out that.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the Big Easy myself. It's too sticky. Weirdos, people, the whole thing.
All right, so the absinthe place. I'm heavily leaning to absinthe in the afternoon.
Yeah, just go to Prague and get your absinthe. It's much better.
I'll be absinthe minded for the
go to Prague. It's a much better trip for that.
Anyway, that's what I got.
And it's the real Street. Deal. The real deal absinthe and
Wednesday and Thursday, and then on the Biloxi, Mississippi for a golf sojourn. That's what I got. Matt, thank you so much. Please join us at Cafe Des Monts. Thank you.
That's the cafe of the world for you.
Cafe Des Monts. And Davey Portnoy had a hard time.
That's the world. That's the world cafe for you non-French speaking people.
Matt's bilingual. Right on. All right, listen. If you're going to buy spice, do me a favor. Forget the McCormick spice and go to Amazon.com and buy some Shrimp Mojo. Just search for it, Shrimp Mojo. Lee can attest that it's fantastic. Although Lee finds it too high in salt. We have our taste specialists working fervently on a low salt edition, along with barbecue sauce and hot sauce, all coming soon to the Manja TV labeling and availability. The other one, Matt, that we're working on is bacon habanero ketchup. Bacon habanero ketchup, Matt. Now I know you love all three of those things. And we're going to combine them into a ketchup. And, when I moved here from Chicago and first had the Portland ketchup, like real ketchup, back to Heinz and Kraft, how they used to make ketchup.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, this is not ketchup.
Right. It's hard to eat.
And it's like, well, no, actually, this is ketchup. It's just ketchup that
there's no sugar in it. There's no sugar in it. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, there is sugar, but it's real sugar. There's not much of it. It's not high fructose fructose corn
Yeah, there's no
syrup,
corn syrup, exactly.
right? And it's got a flavor profile and a viscosity that Heinz and Kraft forgot about decades ago. Anyway, I can't wait for you to taste the bacon habanero.
Whenever I hear the word viscosity, I think of college kids earning extra money.
Oh, do I got a story about that we will not share? All right, Matt. Thank you so much. Please visit us at marketvitals.io. Please share, retweet, plagiarize the broadcast far and wide. We are looking for sponsors. If you enjoy the content and you would love your clientele to be exposed to it or us to pitch your product, first of all, we don't pitch. We're not spitballers, Matt. Let's just say that. We have to actually believe in the pitch, unlike Madison Avenue.
Yeah, we take the shack track. We only believe in products that, we believe in.
Bada bing.
Bada bing.
All right, Matt. Thank you. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Bob. Safe travels.